There is one thing I've been saying ever since I began with this YouTube channel, and it's something quite simple once you understand it. It's all something fundamental in understanding daily affairs. It's an understanding that will rescue you from being stuck with dangerous people. And it will keep you away from dangerous circumstances once you practice this knowledge. And that knowledge is patterns never lie. Write it down. Patterns never lie. I'm not that much talking about natural patterns. For example, it can be that a region, let's say for example Central America, has a raining season. So within that season, within that time of the year, there's a lot of rain. And this comes back every year. So this is a natural pattern of that climate. If a woman is pregnant, there is a natural pattern. After 9 months, she will give birth because during those 9 months, the baby will grow in the womb. And this happens to every woman. There are times a baby is born prematurely. Nevertheless, the pattern is 9 months. Your body has natural patterns. You need to eat, and the food that you consume is digested by your digestive system. That's a natural pattern, okay? So natural patterns are natural patterns, okay? And when you have knowledge of natural patterns, you can see through when someone tries to scam you. Let's say that you have a church and you have a couple. They come to the pastor and they say they want to get married. They want to have a wedding. And they have the wedding within a month. And just 2 weeks after the wedding, the woman is about to give birth. She's 8.5 months pregnant. But the people at the church still believe that they've met each other only 5 weeks before asking the pastor to marry them. So, however, when you look at the natural pattern of a pregnancy, you'll figure out something isn't right here. If that baby is the baby of that man, that means that he has sown the seed months earlier. So they couldn't have just met a few weeks before getting married, before they had their wedding, because, or else she couldn't have she couldn't be given birth that quickly. Or it's not the baby of that man, and the man decided to get along with the woman and marry her anyway. Something is wrong. Anyone who looks at the natural facts will realize something doesn't add up here. Or let's say, for example, that someone reads a historical document. And in the historical document, there is this report of a group of Englishmen that sojourned through Southeast Asia. But there is one thing that doesn't add up: the time. Because Southeast Asia has its raining season, and its season when it's dry. And in the season when there's a lot of rain, it's quite difficult to travel by road. Even traveling by ship can be difficult in that region. But now, in the report you read, this historical document, there is a journey that took place within just 2 weeks from one end of Southeast Asia to the other. And when you look at the technology they had at the time, and the fact that it was a raining season in that year, you think, hold on a minute. Either someone committed fraud based on a real report, and this is a fraudulent report that we have here, or this whole journey was just a hoax. It was just fiction. And even on fictional terms, it doesn't add up that in a raining season you travel that quickly with that technology in that time. So when you have knowledge of natural patterns, you can check the natural facts. And when you examine the natural facts, that means when you put things in context, you can see when someone tries to hoax you. I hope you follow me till now. Now, we know now what natural patterns are. The same thing forensics use when a crime is committed. They know how the body of human being operates when it's alive, when human being's alive, and they know how the body decays. So when they come with their devices to measure the warmth of the corpse, is to determine how long the corpse has been a corpse. When they go to the autopsy and they check the stomach, they can check whether the content was far in the digestion phase. Then they can determine how long before the individual died they ate. So having knowledge of natural patterns is important. Now this video is not about natural patterns, even though natural patterns are necessary to understand them. Because lack of knowledge concerning natural facts can be a big disadvantage, and in the best case scenario, it's dysfunctional. Now, when it comes to the paranormal it's just the evil spirits altogether seeking to counterfeit Christ. So the paranormal has an effect. It can be powerful, but it's a counterfeit. It's a very weak and debased counterfeit. So when it comes to the paranormal, evil spirits, they need to feed off of human energy. So they're codependent on human beings being in a state that they can vampirize them. So to achieve this, evil spirits need to keep the human population in a state of anxiety. But to enforce pure anxiety, it's not going to work. And evil spirits need the assistance of human sellouts. So the evil spirits, together with their human sellouts, they seek to keep the human population trapped in a cycle. Because once someone is trapped in a cycle, they're often not aware of it anymore. So when evil spirits operate, they always are operating to trap you in some cycle or some pattern. But the demons do it in such a way that you don't realize it's a pattern you're being pushed into. Because that's not always obvious. So whenever you want to check what's going on, look at the context. Okay, let me give an example. Let's say someone comes home and they're wet. Their coat's completely, water's dripping off of it. And the wife asks, honey, what happened? And the husband said, I was stuck in traffic and it rained. But then the wife checks and there was no rainfall during the time the husband had to come home. And then the wife checks the coat and the wife sees that it's not rain that fell in. It's like someone threw a bucket of water filled with water on him. And then the husband later admitted that some of the boys in the neighborhood did it as a prank. But the husband said he didn't want to admit it because he felt humiliated. So he said it was just the rain. In this case, the husband arriving at home, wet, it didn't happen just like it happened in a context. Okay, so the wife wanted to know what happened, so when the husband gave an explanation, the explanation didn't match the context, so it didn't add up. Now, remember this example, okay? So now let me give another example here. Let's say that you lost your keys. Such things happen from time to time. You can lose objects. You forget where you placed them, or someone else takes them. Well, I hope that was not the case, but it can happen. Let's say you lost your keys, and you think, oh dear, why did I lose my keys? So, okay, it happened. If it happens once in a while, let's say it happened in January, and now it happened again in April, okay, that from time to time you may lose something or forget where you've left something, it can happen. But let's say now you first lost your keys. Then you've lost your mobile phone. Then your computer broke down. Then you lost your passport. You see what's going on here? you keep losing things, or what I'm saying, things keep breaking at your hand. And every time that happens, you have a delay somewhere. When you lost your keys, you couldn't arrive at home because you had to ask the landlord of the flat complex to come with the reserve key for you. And that day that it happened, when you arrived at home, you found out that you missed an opportunity, because every day at 8 o'clock you used to respond to advertisements for homes because you wanted to move. And you found out that that day, the house that you intended to place your to the house that you plan to respond to, you wanted to do it that night, but because you lost your keys, you were later at home, and you couldn't respond on the advertisement, and you later found out that someone else got the house. Then you found out later that when you lost your phone, it was a friend that wanted to call you to inform you about something, because you planned a trip, let's say to, I don't know, to Fiji. But there was political unrest in Fiji at the time, and that friend wanted to alert you. But because you lost your phone, that friend tried to call you, but he couldn't reach you. And because of that, you planned a trip to Fiji, but it wasn't a good idea. And when you were on holiday in Fiji, suddenly you lost your passport. And because of that, you had to stay a few more days in Fiji, because the embassy had to make another passport for you to get out of the country. And when you arrived in your own country, you had to purchase another passport. Those days that you were there, you couldn't work, so you had less wages, and some of the wages you did get from your job, a portion had to be spent to getting a new passport. So when you look at all the times that you had a hindrance, you look at the context when it took place, you realize that it's like some power is hindering your prosperity. And then you see the pattern in it. You see that every time something good comes your way, there is some kind of accident or quote-unquote bad luck that happens that diverts that good thing away from you, or you're so occupied by something that went wrong, whether it's losing your passport, or it's where is some bailiff that's haunting you, that you had no time nor energy left to realize that, oh, there's an opportunity here. So now you see the pattern. Because if you would tell people that you feel like this is some curse haunting you, people would look at you and say, come on, man, curses don't exist, spirits don't exist, be realistic, you just have to work hard. And if you tell them the incidents, people say, well, those are just incidents. So you're making, you're seeing things that aren't there. That's how common folks would react. When you look at the context of those incidents, you will see a pattern through all of them. And the pattern doesn't lie. The pattern reveals that there is something haunting you. Okay? Okay, that's one way to detect a pattern, a paranormal pattern. Now here's another paranormal pattern. This one is more common, but because people are so used to this pattern, they don't see it as a paranormal pattern, and they don't even realize it's dangerous. Let's say you meet people, okay? You go to the bus stop and you see this guy standing there. You say hi, he says hi to you, okay. 2 weeks later, you see the guy again, this time in a mall. So over and over again, you encounter the same individual. You didn't plan to, you forgot about the individual completely. The individual was not on your mind, but you keep encountering that individual. And after a while, you get used to encountering the individual. And before you know it, that individual becomes part of your life. And in the beginning, it's all well. It's all at ease. But over time, there are issues coming from this individual towards you. Then after a while, some of the people that hang around this individual that became part of your life now begin to target you. So it ends up bad. This can happen in a business context, can happen in a friendship context, can happen in a sexual context, when it comes to marriage. This pattern of good beginnings is a pattern that Hollywood is promoting, Disney is promoting, and even churches are promoting it. It goes like this. Evil spirits, they want to trap you in a pattern or a cycle. That's the only chance they have of ever getting hold on you. So they want you trapped in a pattern or a cycle. And the best way to trap you in a pattern or a cycle is through other people. So evil spirits, they want you to be hooked up with people that are bad for you. They want you to be hooked up with toxic people. They want you to be hooked up with people that are going to burden you with their tensions. That's what evil spirits want. But evil spirits are not going to just push someone that's suicidal in your life. It's not like you go to the mall and suddenly this individual follows you and tells you he's about to kill himself. Please help him out. It's not going to happen that way. Because if that would happen, you'd immediately call 911 for that individual because the individual needs help. So that wouldn't work well. What demons will do is, demons will use someone that's self-destructive, and the demons will keep that individual away from harm. Even though the individual is self-destructive, they may be a chain smoker, they may be a serial cheater, or they may be a violent narcissist. It doesn't matter. The evil spirits will keep that individual away from harm. The evil spirits will cover that individual for the sake of using that individual to trap others. So this is how it goes. Evil spirits, they check your life. They check your relationships, they check your past, they check what wounds you encountered, they check your healing process, and based on that, they discuss with each other what to do to trap you. So when evil spirits found a way to trap you, they'll begin to push people in your life. And in the beginning, it will just be quote unquote coincidences. By the way, there's no such thing as coincidence, but it will be like coincidences as you keep encountering certain people. And because you keep encountering them, you develop this comfort with encountering them. That's how the human mind works. When you are exposed to something over and over again, you develop familiarity with it. So demons will bring familiarity to you to attract you to some individuals. But those individuals are often not aware that evil spirits are using them. But that's how it goes. The evil spirits will expose you to certain individuals over and over again. So once this familiarity has been established, now evil spirits become more aggressive. Now they actually push individual in your affairs. So now the individual has become part of your life. But because it happened, let me say this, in a subtle, unconscious manner, you don't even realize that someone suddenly became part of your life. It's when you talk to someone else that knows you for a longer time, then they will tell you, Frank, this Bart that you just met, you met them like 3 weeks ago. How come he's come to your house that often? How come you're so close to him, just like that? And then you think about it and you think, well, that friend of yours, he may be suspicious for nothing, but it's only after you think about it through, when you really look at the context, you realize, hold on a minute, it's quite weird. And such things often happen. And when the evil spirits have succeeded in making someone part of your life, they'll chill for a few days or maybe a few weeks. And things are at ease. And when things are at ease, you lower your guard because you are comfortable. So once an individual is part of your, what they call your comfort zone, and the demons see that you are comfortable with this individual, then the demons will begin to attack you through that individual. And it can be that individual suddenly calls you to help him or out with something, and you think, okay, why not? But then it keeps happening, and before you know it, you're being drained by this individual. It can be, for example, that someone calls you, said to get some advice from you. But you realize that you give advice to this individual, but your advice is never followed. And you think, okay, maybe the individual has his reasons. But when you think about it more clearly, and you discuss with other people point out to you that this individual keeps calling you to talk with you about issues, but they never seek solutions. So actually, you're the one being drained, and they are relieved. So they're dumping their trash on you, and you're the one left with the issues, and they are at ease. So every time they have tensions and conflicts, they call you, they vent with you, and you're the one left with all the frustrations and all the consequences like disturbed sleep patterns, all of that. And they're the ones walking around at ease, continuing in the same negativity. And now you can see the pattern. It was a trap by evil spirits to drain you. So now you're stuck in the pattern of that dysfunctional individual. Not that you participate in their dysfunction, but you are at the receiving end of the negative contention of their dysfunction. So you are part of their dysfunction without you being aware of it. These things happen. When you know how to examine a situation, when you know how to see the context of something, you're very blessed. Very few people know how to do this. Look, I'm not telling you to become suspicious and paranoid with every incident that happens. I'm telling you to look at the context. That's what I'm telling you to do. Look, when someone is a dangerous individual, you will always recognize it by the pattern that haunts them. You have people that need help. People that need to be rescued can also be haunted, but they need to be rescued. And the way you notice that they are just people that need to be rescued is because they want to be rescued. And once you point out to them there's danger, they want solutions. And you can notice with their behavior that they did everything according to their best knowledge to get out of whatever dangerous situation they were in. That's someone that needs to be rescued. That's someone you can have pity for. That's someone that you can have pity on. That's someone you can have empathy for. That's someone you can have sympathy for. That's someone you can have compassion for. But if you have an individual that's narcissistic, or they are narcissists, and they never want to face things, now that's a pattern in itself. It's a pattern of fleeing. When you are dealing with such an individual, they will always cover up what's haunting them because they don't want to face what's haunting them. They just want to be relieved. And because they just want to be relieved, whatever's haunting them, they're transferring it wherever they go. So they are transferring violence and dysfunction wherever they go. And because they don't want to face anything, anytime things escalate, they flee. So when you're dealing with someone that's dangerous, someone you need to be rescued from, you will notice it by the patterns that haunt them. Look, an example I gave in this video about this guy that keeps losing stuff. When you see that the guy keeps losing stuff, but you also see that the guy's upset every time it happens and he really wants to find out what's going on and he does whatever he can to prevent it from happening again, then you know this guy just needs help. He doesn't see everything clearly. But if you have an individual that always has trouble, wherever they go, there's some disagreement, or wherever they go, there are things that break, or wherever they go, there is some kind of violence that emerges. And every time that individual goes to similar things over and over again, but individual never speaks about solutions. They do complain. They may even acknowledge that something needs to be done, but they never actually do something about it. And you notice that this individual keeps talking about solutions, but they never actually participate in any solutions. And the moment you decide, okay, I'm not going to listen to this individual anymore, I'm going to lower contact, they tend to retaliate by keep looking for more contact with you. So if they used to call you twice a week, now they call you thrice a day when you begin to lower contact. Now what's going on there? You're dealing with a dangerous individual. You're dealing with someone that does want to face things. You're dealing with someone that has no empathy for their environment. They don't care at all about the well-being of other people. The only thing that's on their mind is them being relieved. So they don't even care that they are haunted. They just want to put up with the dysfunction that comes with haunting. So what they want is to be relieved from the haunting and to be left alone. That's what they want. And they expect people to enable them. Anytime you become an enabler to such an individual, you're participating in their pattern. So you become part of the pattern they're operating in. That pattern they're operating in is also the thing that's haunting them. So without you being aware of it, you'll become haunted also. I hope you understand this. When you notice that someone is dangerous, then lower contact if necessary, or better, break contact immediately. You don't always have to explain why you're doing something. You can explain later. If you see someone is dangerous, and you've mentioned things to this individual to highlight to them that something needs to change, and you see that they have no interest whatsoever in change, they may say there's going to be change, they may say things, but they never actually do it. Eventually want to use you as supply. When you're dealing with such an individual, remove yourself from that individual. Just remove yourself. Don't explain to the individual you're about to remove yourself. Just do it. And when others think you did something wrong, just wait for a moment. If they are sincere people, they will check the context, they will do their own homework, and they'll find out that you did the right thing. That's how you ought to operate. That's why it's important to see patterns. Look, someone that needs help is someone that's endangered. Such an individual will likely embrace help once it's offered. Such an individual, even though they may be stubborn in the beginning, they will face reality eventually. But someone that's dangerous is someone that's delusional. And delusional people, I've said this before, watch out with them. Because delusional people are folks that don't want to face anything. So if you mention anything they need to face, you become their enemy. You become their target. And you don't need people making you a target. You don't. So when you see that someone is delusional, and I mean this in context, okay? If someone is uninformed about something and they think that the decision they want to make is the right one, but you see that it's completely going wrong, they're just not well informed, okay? But when you know that someone just don't want to receive any counsel at all, they quote unquote know it all, or they have no interest in examining anything, then you know they're delusional. Especially if there's an issue going on that needs attention and they have no interest in examining the situation, then you know automatically that they are delusional. Because anyone that's faced with an issue and is realistic, they want to find out what's going on in order to go towards a solution. But when you're dealing with someone that has no interest in facing what's going on, nor in doing the research, such individuals delusional. You know why? Because they do have quote-unquote interest in seeking distraction, and they do have quote-unquote interest in dumping negativity on others, whether it is by actually looking for fights with people or whether it is by just venting with people endlessly. So they do have interest in extending the cycle. They do have an interest in maintaining the dysfunction, but they don't have any interest in going for the solution. They are delusional, and delusional people are violent people. Because being delusional itself is a form of violence. So delusional people, they operate in violence. You may not see this as violence when someone is venting with you over and over again and they never seek for a solution. You think it's just an individual that's hurt and needs a shoulder to cry on. That can be true, but people that are truly sad or truly heartbroken, they want to be better. Even if they are in denial for a while, eventually the denial will hurt them and they want a solution. But folks that keep murmuring, complaining, or venting endlessly, they are using you to transfer their fright upon you so that they are relieved from the fright. They don't care what the fright is doing to you as long as they are relieved. So that's violence. Delusional people are violent people. They are dangerous. That's why on my YouTube channel, I do not tolerate weird comments. I do have a sense of humor. So if someone has a humorous comment, okay, that's okay. Or when someone has questions, that's fine. But the moment I notice that someone makes a comment with a hidden accusation, for me it's over. If for some reason I tolerate that one comment, but I notice that with the next two comments, the individual does the same thing, they're blocked. Most of the time, you're blocked after that first comment already. Why am I doing this? It's because delusional people, you need to remove yourself from them and you need to remove their influence from you. Because once they become comfortable dumping their fright on you, they will not stop. They will feel, once they feel comfortable doing that, they will feel entitled to do it. So now they will claim you as a tool to give them supply. That's why it's important to recognize patterns early on. I'm not talking about people that have expectations, and when those expectations aren't met, they become angry and they cut people off. I'm not talking about that. That's just stupid. Okay, a lot of people have expectations, firm expectations, which are their boundaries, and expect others to get along with them without examining them. So when someone refuses to give in to your expectations that you don't want to give an account for, then they're not doing anything wrong. They're just being free. They're just being human. If you're offended by that, you're the one that has an issue. And if you then decide, okay, I'm going to cut them off because I have a pattern of violating boundaries, you're delusional. Okay? What I'm talking about is when you notice that an individual really has no intention and no interest in involving him or herself in any solution for anyone, then I'm telling you, do not be involved with that individual. If you're married to such an individual, okay, I'm not going to tell you to divorce because you need to go into prayer about this. But if you realize that this individual will never change, and if the Holy Spirit tells you to leave, then leave that marriage. If you have children, then you will arrange visitation rights and all that afterwards. But if you have to leave, you leave. Don't think I'm staying because of the kids. Listen, if that husband or if that wife is delusional, realize that it will get worse as let's say the more they age, the worse they become. So don't think that maybe within a few years or a few months are going to be better because they see the error of their ways and they'll repent. Well, it does happen that people repent after a while. It happens, but it doesn't happen all the time. When someone is delusional and they persist in the delusion, no sooner or later they'll escalate. Because delusional people will not always have an escape route. There comes a point that they need to face things as they are. And because they're delusional, they don't want that. They've invested everything in avoiding this confrontation. Whenever this confrontation is inevitable and into their face, they'll escalate. They'll do dangerous things like stabbing people, or they'll turn into psychotic rage and sexually abuse someone, or they may turn to cults, and which they will turn into full-blown narcissists. It may be painful to hear this, but there are people out there that will change, but for the worse. It can be that when you became involved with them, they were still relatively healthy. It can be that they were still reasonable back then. But once you see that they're going more and more into darkness, and they have no intention of turning back, you realize they're turning into reprobates, move away from them. If you have a spouse like that and you remain with that spouse and there are children involved, you are endangering your own children. You are endangering your offspring, and with this, you are endangering the community around you. And you're also scamming the community because you are keeping up a front to hide danger. But listen to what I'm saying here. Hiding danger will not dissolve danger. If someone has a physical disease, like they have skin cancer, they can put makeup on the skin or wear certain clothes that will hide the symptoms of skin cancer. But them hiding the disease doesn't mean the disease is gone. The disease has to be treated either with medicine that will hinder the symptoms, that will hinder the disease, or they will have to undergo surgery so that the infection is removed completely, and then they need to recover. Something needs to be done. Because if the disease is left untreated, it will only get worse and worse and worse. So when someone is delusional and they're persisting in the negative, realize sooner or later it's going to explode. So for you to save that individual out of convenience, you are endangering yourself. And if you have children that are in your care, you're endangering your children. And forget about children. If you don't have children, or children are already out of the home, you're relating to other people, you're relating to family, you're relating to friends. Everyone that you relate to is also endangered by you remaining with this individual. Maybe it's not your spouse. Maybe it's a parent. Maybe one of your parents is delusional. Maybe one of your parents has turned bitter because their unaccepted expectations are always frustrated. Let's say you have grandchildren, you have your own kids. If your children keep going to that delusional parent of yours, which is their delusional grandparent, that delusional grandparent of your children, which is your delusional parent, will sooner or later infect your children with their darkness. So this is something quite serious. It's important to see the pattern, because patterns do not lie. If someone is endangered and they need help, then you can see it with the pattern. If someone is dangerous, you can also see it with the pattern. Just because you see a pattern doesn't mean that the individual is dangerous. But when you see a pattern, you know that something's going on. And when you put it in context, it's then that you can see whether you're dealing with someone whether you're dealing with someone that needs to be rescued, or you're dealing with someone you need to be rescued from. Patterns do not lie. And it's one thing you need to understand. Delusional people aren't completely mentally defect. They can see right from wrong. They can see danger when it's there. They just are not concerned with it because they're so focused only on themselves. They have this toxic self-focus in which they have no concern nor any empathy for those around them. So it's a deliberate dysfunction. It's a self-inflicted dysfunction. Such individuals will always keep up a front. Now, everyone in society is told to keep up a front. So you may even have decent people that put up a front because they think that's the right thing. They're just deceived. But someone that's delusional will always keep up a front, and they will perfect their scamming because they're scam artists. That's what they are. They're keeping up a front to keep you close to them so they can feed off of you. It's only because you are considered a beneficial source of supply, whether that supply is a supply of sympathy or a supply of encouragement or just as a target for them to rage against. It's only because you're considered a beneficial source of supply that they want you close to them. And to keep you there, they will mirror your expectations so that you are tricked into thinking that they are just like you. They may even fake having the same hobbies as you or the same opinions as you. Why are they doing this? They are mirroring you to keep you there so they can use you, so they can use you as a source of supply. And to keep this going, they need to keep up a front around you. But when they notice that their front is failing, they'll begin to discard you because they don't want to face themselves. or when they have you as a source of supply and someone else comes by, which is a far more easier source of supply, they'll begin to drop you just like that. And they'll move on very easily. And you think, how can you move on like that after you treat someone like this? It is because they never valued you to begin with. It was always only about them. When you know how to see patterns, you know that either an individual needs help or an individual is dangerous. You need to avoid this individual. That's why it's important to look at the context. I always tell people to look at the context. Remember, patterns do not lie. So